And that ties in very nicely to what we're going to spend the next 20 minutes or so talking about here. And that is the massive growth of data center construction in Indiana. Now, Abdul says he's pro data center. We'll get to that. We'll also talk about the potential drawbacks. But right now, more than 30 data centers are already operating just in central Indiana. Often they're there and you don't even really know they're there or what they're doing. And while the state celebrates the growth, not everybody is a big fan of this. Indiana's offered tax breaks to lure data centers, and just last month, the IEDC approved incentives for more new projects. Now, up in Tracie's neck of the woods in northwest Indiana, a couple counties away, not right next door, but over in LaPorte County and western St. Joe County. So saw this great short movie. It may be 12 to 15 minutes from More Perfect Union. Links in the show notes. It's on YouTube, talking about the proliferation of data centers in Northwest Indiana, specifically this huge Amazon Web Services $11 billion data center in New Carlisle is their largest capital project, and the largest in the state's history. We talked last month about how Department of Environmental Management has already been involved in that project, as their construction is impacting wetlands. We just saw this week another potential data center in the New Carlisle area get an unfavorable recommendation from the St. Joe Plan Commission. And then also in Michigan City, again, 20 minutes from New Carlisle there, the city council there voted to give a massive data center a tax abatement for 10 years, after which the city is estimated to get about $1.5 million a year. We don't even know who's building that one yet, just that it is a top 50 US based company. A lot of shadow companies and holding companies and paperwork shenanigans to obfuscate the actual owners of these facilities. Excuse me. So, Tracie, I'm going to start with you because that's your neck of the woods. Are you getting them in Lake County as well?
Oh yeah, well they're trying. So here's the thing to understand about NWI for anybody listening who's not really super up on the region. We do not have the land resources that some of the other counties where these are proliferating are. Like in particular, like my area, I live in Munster, which is right on the border with Chicago. We are landlocked. Like we have almost no space left to develop, but they found a corner that they want to appropriate for a data center here. We also have a super aging grid, and it's not been invested in. We don't really have, so the next storm that goes, if they have that data center, we're all going to be without power. It's a problem when you're looking at this area. We just don't have the land that they are looking at is adjacent to wetlands and protected areas, because I mean the way that the national park works, it's like latticed with private land. So there's a theoretical opportunity for somebody to say build a fucking Amazon data center right in the middle of the Indiana Dunes National Park. Yeah.
So Clif, Indianapolis also has big data center controversy right now, right? So
yes.
There is a development on the southeast side of Marion County that is up for a vote before the city council there. This is a 467 acre hyperscale Google data center that is supposed to bring $1 billion of investment into the community, but also, has a lot of potential drawbacks. Now, the people in that community do not want it there, and Republican councilor Michael Paul Hart, who represents that area, has come out as a strong no, as have 16 other members of the city county council there in Indianapolis. Bipartisan, Democrats and Republicans alike. Now, of course, they're not necessarily tied to their public statements. They could vote a different way. That is tomorrow, right, at the city county council meeting there Monday night. Now, so lots of electeds, lots of locals don't want this thing there. Franklin Township Community Schools flipped their positions earlier this week, and they wrote a letter of support to the counselors. Now, Hart says that on social media that the school accepted a buyout from Google in exchange for their support. So really only one person has really been vociferously for these data centers, and that is
Ron Gibson.
Counselor Ron Gibson, who also has said that there might be another one coming to the east side at an abandoned old drive-in movie theater. Clif, talk about data centers in Indianapolis.
So the one on the south side, I got to watch Michael Paul Hart give an impassioned speech to a largely socialist crowd. I could not believe how bipartisan it was when you have the furthest right person who is also, by all means, a tech bro, speaking out to the socialists, and everybody was eating up his words. This is how hated these things are. People know I'm an AI first person. I sold one of the first AI products for Indiana University in 2000 to the College Board. If you took the SAT, you might have used my software to assess your writing skill. You may not even know this. I don't feel bad about AI. I do not believe that these data centers are a good thing, though. And when you look at the tax breaks, we are going to be losing 10 times as much as we gain. This $1 billion worth of infrastructure is not going towards the city. We are on the south side, we are looking at approximately the space of 2 Indianapolis speedways full of just concrete, no place for the water to run. As Tracie had mentioned, this is going to destroy all the wetlands. We have been talking about we need to figure out a way that we can find the money that used to go to soybeans. We lost $700 million in soybeans that are rotting on the ground this month right now because we aren't selling them to China anymore. And we're trying to figure out where we're getting that money back. We're not going to be getting it from these data centers. Ron Gibson is literally the only person who is supporting these, and that's because Joe Hogsett told him to support them. Joe Hogsett is the Mike Braun candidate for Indianapolis. He is the one Democrat who will do what Braun tells him to because Joe likes to cower. He likes to hide in his office in his basement in Nora and cowered to Mike Braun. I've seen it up close. I've seen them both. I've seen Hogsett grovel to Braun in person. It was disgusting. And I can tell you, they didn't even see me until I came up to shake their hands. Something that I'm a little embarrassed that I wanted to do because I don't like touching either of them. But I needed to make my presence known after after Braun was groveling, or Hogsett was groveling to Braun. And now we have Ron Gibson groveling to Hogsett so he can pass the grovel up the line so Braun can grovel to Donald Trump.
Okay, Cliff, listen. So you said you're an AI guy. You're pro AI.
Oh yeah.
You know, I use it some. We all use it. We all use a ton of data. We're using a ton of data right now. They're going to have to go somewhere, right? So, Cliff, you posted a good link to the Indy Star's James Briggs. James Briggs making an argument for data centers in his column this week. Abdul, do the same.
Well, here's the thing, and you're absolutely right. Data centers are sort of the new NIMBY, so to speak. My late lovely mother used to have a saying I've been using a lot lately, is that everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Now, here's what that means. when it comes to the data universe, we all have our phones. We all love sharing our memes, streaming our Netflix, our Hulu, or Amazon. We all want the data. Okay, that's fine, but the data's got to go somewhere. Where is the data going to go? Plain and simple. You don't like the data center? Okay, fine. Then what's your solution for all this massive data that, by the way, which is growing like crazy? As you know, everybody has a cell phone. You know, we all tweet, we all post on social media. This program is streamed on the internet. I mean, the data's got to go somewhere. So my thing is, you make the most of I won't necessarily say unpleasant. You make the most of the situation, and in a nutshell, that's it. In Franklin Township, you know what it's about. It's fundamentally for the school district. It's about money. Let's be honest. It's about money. Schools don't have as much money as they used to. Here's some money. Here's some things our kids need. We'll take it. Over near Mortonsville, I just interviewed the head of their economic development corporation over there this week for my Indie Politics program. And he said basically what their data center people did was when they built those relationships, they had the people in, the locals in from day one. I think that's probably more the problem with the Google data center, is not so much the data center, sort of how it was done. But at the end of the day, you may not like a data center. Okay, fine. How are you going to get all your stuff?
There are ways to do that, though. The problems we have with these data centers are when you talk about Google, they're coming to the Midwest because they can do things more economically cheaper than they can out west. Out west, they force everybody to use closed loop cooling systems. Closed loop cooling systems means we're not putting water chillers on the roof and spraying water that should be going to crops. It should be staying in the wells for our urban or for our rural people. It is putting a strain on our water cleaning supply. Yeah. We have closed loop versus open loop. That in itself would, if we use closed loop, it's going to add 20% to the overall bill. However, it would save our water systems. We do need data centers, and I'm not against data centers. I'm against destroying our environment to do that. There are multiple ways to do this ecologically sound, but we are going and saying, you know what, we're going to give you all the money so you could do the worst job ever, so you can use outdated equipment that is not electronically sufficient. You can, in 10 years, we're going to have chips for AI that require 10% of the power that we're doing now and do 10 times as much as we are today.
And then what are we going to do with these hulking buildings that are dotting our entire state's landscape at the breakneck pace that we're building them, have no environmental safeguards behind them, and are being managed? Okay. So Abdul, before you accuse me of being, regressively and reflexively anti anything that a Republican likes, I'm not. I work in tech. I've been doing AI forever. What I object to strenuously is AI being built in our backyards because we don't have anybody that is taking care of us or providing reasonable safeguards watching over. I don't want AI centers built all over Indiana under Braun's watch, because he does not give a good God about any of the things that Cliff just mentioned. He's not going to do anything. anything to protect our water supply, to protect our farmland. Because if we're taking, this is Indiana, we're supposed to grow food. If all of our farmland is taken up with big, hulking, huge data centers, where are we going to grow soybeans when we need them again? And will that land be contaminated permanently?
The issue I think with these, Abdul, before you go on, I'll let you talk here, is that we're giving away the farm, sometimes literally, but it's like a race to the bottom, you know. We're giving away tax abatements and you know, valuable land and you know, water resources, and subsidizing the building of these things with our electric bills, when it doesn't have to be that way. Like, we could have these things, but like, yeah, like Clif's saying, okay, do the closed loop water system, you know, cover these things in solar panels so they're not on this, pulling power from the same grid as the rest of us, or you know, so they're self-sufficient,
paying for the infrastructure, you know, up front.
Yeah, and furthermore, like Tracie up there in your area, like, that's where these things should be. We've got a bunch of old decrepit factories and warehouses and stuff that, you know, maybe aren't as useful anymore, where we could redevelop that space. And y'all are on the lake. I mean, there's as much water as we could ever possibly need there. We don't need to be sucking these things out of the groundwater. We should be, you know, listen, we've, like in Michigan City, we got the coal plant there, and there's the big cooling tower. Everybody thinks it's a nuclear thing. They use the water, they cool the water, they put it back in. Now, I'm not saying NIPSCO's a great environmental actor, but I'm saying there are things that
when
can be done. They shouldn't be here where there's no water.
More development on Lake Michigan, it makes a lot of us go, rah! Because do you know, okay, if you've ever come up here and gone to the beach next to the BP refinery and watched the oil go cascading out over Lake Michigan, you get really, really, really suspicious about what industry will do up on that shoreline.
I'd rather have a data center than an oil refinery.
Well, yes. Again, oh yeah. If you take BP away and put a data center there, I'm with you. They're not going to do that. And also, again, I don't want any more development along Lake Michigan unless it's being managed by an administration that cares about environmental quality. That Lake Michigan is something that we protect. It is one of the largest reservoirs of fresh water in the world. It provides the drinking water for people in 3 states. There's 4 states. You're right that yes, NWI has more land that would be better suited to developing out as data centers. But again, it has to be done with the sort of planning and care that Clif is talking about, with people that are putting in environmental safeguards. Why can't we have, even with Lake Michigan right there, why can't we have closed loop cooling systems? Why can't we have noise abatement guarantees? Why can't they be required to restore certain amounts of wetlands for any wetland places that they're taking, or put in money to wetland development or parks in the area? We could have data centers in Indiana, but we're not going to have them in the way that they are getting them in more well-managed states.
Yeah, Abdul, thread that needle.
Sure. First of all, like I said, number one, you know, why do we need the data center? For the purpose we're here today. We're streaming. We're having a civil, thoughtful, no one's shooting each other conversation about data centers, the whole 9 yards, and we're using data to do it. And this data is probably going to be somewhere in a data center somewhere. That's kind of point number one. Point number two, I'm going to push back a little bit on my good friend from Northwest Indiana's, because I grew up in Chicago, so know all about Lake Michigan, the whole 9 yards, and looking to get in a little place up in Michigan every once in a while to buy comic books and relax with my edibles. So I can totally appreciate, the lakefront, the beaches, the quality of life scenery that's there. However, folks, I go back again. The data's got to go somewhere. Where's data going to go? Matter of fact, there was a forum this week, the Indiana Fiscal Policy Institute. I'm a member. We talk about Indiana's energy usage and water. And the 800-pound gorilla in the room was, guess what? It was the data center stuff, because that's what everybody wanted to know about. Now, how these data centers are going to impact our energy use is the whole 9 yards. And the conversation I had with one of the executives, and I take his word for it, unless I see evidence to the contrary, is Abdul, the data centers are a lot more sustainable than they were in the past. And it's like technology, it's like everything else. Things get better with technology and with time. And we're in the early stages of these data centers right now. So I think the questions that are being asked about, energy use and tax payments are fair questions, but at the end of the day, the data's got to go somewhere.
Yeah. Clif,
And I got to say this.
Yeah.
I got to say this. If we don't build these data centers, where's Beckwith going to get the bandwidth to make more nude models of women across Indiana? If we don't have Beckwith making every woman in this state nude and perfect breasts, because that's what he cares about. He wants to use his Christianity to show breasts off in his office.
We didn't even get a chance to talk this week about the frat house culture in the lieutenant governor's office, but who has a great story about that? Mr. Abdul-Hakim Shabazz at indiepolitics.org. Interview with former LG office employee Aaron Sheridan. Good stuff over there. So
thank you.
Let us